Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahmabhuta stage, becoming one with the Absolute, is the last word. But for the personalist or the pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a stage of liberation. Called the Brahmabhuta, the oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute, one cannot render service unto Him. In the Absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor. Yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all the dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain because he is full in the service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are ephemeral, and a devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances and disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. This is the Brahmabhuta stage, and this stage is attained very easily by a pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents whose poisoned teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for a materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in the material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. What is this Brahma Bhuta stage? Which has been described to be a very cherished stage. Srila Prabhupada is describing the stage to be an extremely joyful stage. This matter is associated with misery. And dissociation with matter is definitely going to be joyful. Because there is no misery component associated with it. One of the reasons why the living entity is always miserable is because the living entity is never inactive materially. He always continues his material activity. And material activity means misery ensured. So Srila Prabhupada is describing how in this stage one is not attracted by high or low. One is not attracted by a golden stone or on the same level. One is not attracted by happiness or distress. Neither he is elated by happiness nor he is disturbed by distress. All these are ephemeral phases, means transient, temporary phases. And such a person, he has nothing to give and take with these ephemeral phases. So no doubt it is a joyful phase. Now there is haziness that okay, this stage is zero stage or positive stage. What stage it is? Is it zero? Is it positive? By tapasya, by sense control, by abnegation, one can somehow or the other reach the stage. It's possible. Is it zero stage or is it positive stage? There is some amount of haziness because both the contestants can manage to reach to this stage. Now, for a person on the pathway of pure abnegation, for him this is the absolute stage. There's nothing beyond this. He has got out of the entanglement of the material affairs. That's it. That's the culmination. That's the finishing line. So therefore, for a Brahmavadi or an impersonalist, this becomes the absolute stage. But for a progressive bhakti yogi, this is just a transition. From a material dominion to a spiritual dominion. Just like one is traveling, say from Calcutta to Jagannath Puri, Then in between, one comes across the border between Bengal and Odisha. The one says, okay, the border has come. This Bengal, this Odisha, this Bengali, this Odia. So it's very interesting. Like we had gone to Jhargram, so we saw the border. So there was this pole, and this side of the pole is Bengali billboards. The other side of the pole, Odia billboards. Very nice, So it gives a good feel. Okay, go from this side to that side. For a progressive bhakti yogi, it's just a good feel. It's a passing on stage. Whereas for an impersonalist, it's a be all and end all. Prabhupada explains this. Now, so at least one should come to zero. Now what happens is, when one comes to a zero platform and there is no downward pull which is acting on a person, the likelihood that one will be positively attracted by the Supreme Lord increases. Therefore, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate. When the Gyanavan starts searching for Krishna, probably when he reaches the Brahmabhuta, because then only he is a little peaceful, he is undisturbed by the material agitations. His mind and senses have some space rather than fighting against the material disturbances. So in general, the path of abnegation, the Niti Niti path, is imbued with a great amount of fight. There is always fight, because just like a boxer in a boxing ring, he cannot sit quiet, he cannot stand quiet. He cannot breathe, till the time the bell is, but suppose it's a non-stop knockout fight. The fight with material energy is a non-stop knockout fight, Sometimes material energy says, okay, we'll give you some time off. You drink some water and come back. Is it not? But other times, material energy doesn't give. So the fight with material energy is not, only material energy decides when it should be a recess time. Otherwise, it's a knockout fight going on. Is it not? Now, so the whole mind and senses are obsessed in some or the other holding. Now, what the Lord is explaining, see, the Lord is highlighting on this section just to explain that jnana is a powerful component. Jnana has the potency to withhold. So by the power of jnana, one can withhold or restrain. Jnana. By the power of jnana, one can withhold or restrain. Jnana has that potency. So, simply by the power of jnana, one can reach to Brahmabhuta stage. That's explained very beautifully. That's highlighted. So this section highlights the power of jnana. And this is now this is quite interesting. Now the point is that by jnana one can withhold oneself, one can restrain oneself, one can reach up to the Brahmabhuta platform. So what happens after that platform? So now if one doesn't do anything and simply floats around in Brahmabhuta, slowly you'll start gliding down. Aruya krichena parampadam tataha patanti yadho yushmat angreya. He starts gliding down. Aruya krichena. Why? Because he's not doing anything about it. So although the Brahmabhuta is a zero platform, but But still the waves, the vibrations may come and touch, just touch. May not pull in, but touch. May not pull in, but touch. But now for the sake of, so slowly a person will start gliding down. The pull is not there. Slow, but the touch is there. Because of the touch, slowly a person can start gliding down. So Brahmabhuta stage can be very well a holiday resort for many. You can just go and chill out. Just go and chill out and get a golden tan probably, at the shores of the material world or the material existence, is it not? Where the agitation, the provocations of this material world are like the waves, and these waves are just touching, not pulling, but touching. That's it. Now somebody says, oh, after having attained such a beautiful stage, who would like to go down? Yes, if one doesn't want to go down, one doesn't want to glide down, then one has to pay the price. Then one has to pay the price. Then one has to work hard. And what is that hard work? That work is Bhakti Yoga. That's the point. So Bhakti Yoga is that state or is that activity set which can uphold oneself in the Brahmabhuta platform. And not just uphold oneself in the Brahmabhuta platform, take one further. So Bhakti Yoga perpetualizes the Brahmabhuta life. That's Bhakti Yoga. Just like you see, to visit a hill station and come back is easy. To purchase a bungalow in a hill station requires more guts and caliber, is it not? So that way, to remain in Brahmabhuta requires good amount of guts and caliber. Visit, touch, take a photograph, selfie, make a YouTube short and come back, that's fine. Many people do that. That's okay. I mean, that's also good. I mean, that's also requires great amount of endeavors, but not of much use because one has come back. The same miserable position. So therefore, the process of bhakti. So now the point comes is that, okay, jnana is very potent and it's a very potent tool which can help us. But we see that where jnana's limit comes, the potency of bhakti is still on. Jnana can take one to Brahma Jyoti, but how do you go beyond? How do you remain? How do you purchase land at Brahma Jyoti? It's very costly. Only the bhakti currency works. Bitcoin will not work. Bhakti currency will work. The devotional service is going to work. That's the point. So this is quite interesting. Now we say, okay, so is jnana indispensable? Is jnana indispensable? So then it is explained here, no, but the process of bhakti also can elevate a person gradually from a conditioned state, from a stage wherever one is to the stage of Brahmabhuta and take him beyond that. Obviously beyond Brahmabhuta, jnana doesn't work. There's a limit of it. But so when we are talking about jnana, now this is jnana about the material affairs, indulgence or abnegation, it's all material. So it can take one to Brahmabhuta, that's the end of it. But when we talk about Krishna Leela and Krishna's pastimes, those are Bhakti Unmukh Jnana. It comes under the foray of Bhakti. That's Bhakti Unmukh Jnana because that ignites reciprocation with the Lord, is it not? So it's Bhakti oriented Jnana. So that is a little bit different, is it not? So therefore, so unless there is Bhagavan understanding, one cannot go beyond Brahmabhuta. That's the point. Very simple words. Now, question. Yes, abnegation from miseries. But it's not a momentary abnegation from miseries. So it's not just a relief sensation, it's a total abnegation of miseries. It's liberation, it's freedom, complete freedom. That way. But on a slowly glide down. So in general, Maya gives some temporary reliefs. But okay, for next 1 hour you're free, Now you can peacefully go to sleep today, Morning I'll beat you up, Maya says, then we go to sleep. Sometimes Maya doesn't allow one to sleep. So then one doesn't get sleep, he gets insomnia, So, but when Maya allows him to sleep, then he has a good sleep, When he gets up, then Maya starts to work again, So, the point to note is that so Brahmabhuta is definitely a very wonderful stage. It's a aspired for stage. But the point is, how do we maintain it? How do we purchase land on the Brahmaputra territory? How do we get PR there? A permanent residency, bhakti required. Now with abnegation, one can reach Brahmabhuta, but one will not be given entry further. No visa granted. One can just be there and coast around, that's it. Then he has to come back sometime. So bhakti has a potency to elevate a conditioned soul on his own. That means bhakti unmukh jnana is also sufficient. So rather the material jnana is included in that. So bhakti unmukh jnana is also sufficient. But abnegation is a very powerful tool also. Therefore a bhakti yogi may use this tool just to expedite his process of advancement. Just to act as a catalyst. That's the point. That's why this tool is mentioned. So we can clearly understand jnana is subservient to bhakti. It is not that jnana is bhakti culminates in jnana, but actually jnana is subservient to bhakti. Actually jnana is subservient to bhakti because it is bhakti which takes one through further. Quite interesting. So then this statement about that heavenly planets become a phantasmagoria, this is Prabodhananda Saraswati's statement basically. And the snakes of the serpent of the senses, their poisonous teeth are broken. One doesn't want to just remain there at Brahmabhuta because one is not only able to understand that Brahmabhuta is super, one is able to understand Brahmabhuta is just the beginning. It's just the starter, the feast is yet to come. So one feels Brahmabhuta and liberation just hanging around there as hellish. One wants to go further, he's desperate about it. Just like one lands up in a foreign country, even the airport is so attractive. So the person may not want to put his bed and sleep there, Person may want to dash and barge inside the country. It's a wow. The airport itself is so amazing. And whatever view I'm getting from the airport, from inside the airport, that itself is so amazing. What will be the country like? I want to rush inside. He won't want to stay. For him, stay is hellish. He doesn't want to be bound just at the airport. But the airport is very attractive, no doubt. So for a bhakti yogi, Brahmabhuta is just like reaching the airport or the spiritual terrain. The country is not yet started. The airport is there. So he's quite excited, but he's super excited to barge out. So he doesn't care a fig for liberation. That's why liberation is hellish for him. So somebody binds him there, he just doesn't want to stay there. Although it's very exciting, because he knows that what's coming up is millions of times more exciting than what he is now. This is the beautiful point which is explained here. If one doesn't, the likelihood increases, but there is a free will there also. Likelihood increases, but if one is simply absorbed in floating around and doesn't want to work further, then he will glide down. So there are preaching programs in the Brahma Bhuta also. No? No. One may get opportunity to start a Bhakti Vriksha there, no? Also possible if one wants to. There are living entities there also floating around. No? So now the next interesting point here is that see, the next interesting point is that, the next interesting point is this, actually, that, the point is that, see, now we are saying that a Brahmavadi's visit or an impersonalist Mayavadi's visit to Brahmabhuta is that of a tourist who has just come, stays for some time, and then he glides on, has to go back. And he's not given further entrance. He just remains there. That's the only place where he is given entrance. Now, a devotee, for him, it's just like reaching the airport. Now he wants to barge into the spiritual country and make. It's the conch shell, heralding, a great amount of excitement, like that. Now, Bhakti Yoga offers one more facility for the living entity, which is not offered in Jnana, Ashtanga, and all other processes. What is that? Bhakti Yoga also offers, actually, it is only Bhakti Yoga which also offers a simulation of the Brahmabhuta stage. It's just like a virtual reality or an augmented reality simulation. Bhakti Yoga is very sophisticated and state of the art in that sense. So whereas the Jnana, Ashtanga are traditional and orthodox, Bhakti is quite sophisticated in its offering. Therefore, in Bhakti, one gets the added facility of having a simulation or a virtual reality experience. So now, the question comes, how this is so? How this can be so, or how is it possible? So this is really so because it is explained that whenever one is absorbed in the activities of devotional service, although not completely purified, but when one is engaged and absorbed in the activities of devotional service, means heartfully engaged, sincerely and heartfully engaged and absorbed in the activities of devotional service, then such a person is beyond the modes for that period of time. And when one is beyond the modes for that period of time, he is liberated. Yes. So what's happening? It's an experience of Brahma Bhuta. Oh, it will only last for a very short time. Till the time the person is absorbed. The moment a person feels, oh, now I'm saturated, it is a good, it is a good spiritual ride. But now I'm saturated, now let me descend. So again he comes back, say to the simulation, is it not? Then you say, okay, VR simulation. Like that. Just like one may put his phone in a VR arcade framework, and experience VR. But in between the phone call will come, the boss is calling, hey, your assignment is not, is due, or so one immediately comes out, is it not? In the same way, but Bhakti Yoga offers that simulation as well. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga actually takes a person by the higher taste. So practical proof of that here. Because see, Bhakti Yoga is offering simulation. In fact, Bhakti Yoga simulation is not just Brahma Bhuta. Bhakti Yoga offers further simulations also, Rasa Tattva as well. It all depends on the intensity of absorption. But at least one is on Brahma Bhuta. When one is absorbed in service, in any limb of devotional service, if one is absorbed, happily absorbed, completely engrossed and absorbed very happily, he is beyond the modes at that point. He is Brahma Bhuta. Therefore, a devotee is very happy in that state. Later he becomes miserable, but at least at that point he is very happy. This is the interesting point which we can note. Now we go further into the understanding of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Let's read 55. Bhakti mam abhijanati yavanyashyasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tad anantaram. Oh, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and His plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Jai Shri Chand Gol Chand Bhagwan ki Jai. Such knowledge is never vanquished even after liberation. Liberation